Good morning. Purpose of this video is to talk about micromanagers and why I won't work for them. In business, in a management position such as myself, I'm paid to manage aspects of a company. Well, when you have a micromanager, somebody who seems to feel that any decision you make, they've got to tell you how to do it, or someone that feels that when you send an email or you say something that you need something, they have to come back and reinforce what you've already said. It's a form of micromanaging. A micromanager has a lot of good aspects in business. Certain projects, you want somebody that's going to kind of take care of business, that can manage it, can run it. But for general day-to-day business, micromanagers are not cool. A micromanager can increase an employee's stress level to a point where they pick up the phone, look for another job. Granted, anybody that knows me know I've been in this business in food processing for 21 years. I don't need anybody to tell me what to do. I write programs for companies. I write procedures for companies. I help companies get out of trouble. I don't deem that I need somebody to tell me we need to do this or we need to do that. And I'm like, okay, we've already talked about it. I've got it done. You know, that's one of the quickest ways to take a manager or a professional and have them walk away from your company. Secondly, micromanaging, it invalidates the position that a person's in. If I hire a guy to run as a machine operator and he's got to run a machine for me, and every 5 minutes I walk over to that machine and say, hey, make sure you do this, man. Make sure you do this. Granted, if that employee is new, that should be expected. But if that employee has been doing this job for a month, a week, sometimes a week, I ain't gonna say a week's relevant, but a month, 6 months, year, at some point you have to allow that person to do the job that you pay them to do. If you don't allow them to do it, that's how people who work jobs that may have good salaries, they end up leaving. I mean, you can't keep a person that is used to being able to manage down. I mean, so you get a guy, you promote him to team lead. You as a supervisor walk in and say, hey, make sure you do this. Hey, make sure you do it. If you can't take that person and say, hey, we're gonna have pre-shift meeting, these are the accomplishments we need to make today, or to just tell them what changes need to be made and allow them to make them, then you don't need them. The same goes for employees. Employees don't want to be micromanaged. An hourly guy sitting on the line, he's got his music going. I mean, he's bumping, boom, 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 boom. He's turning out his production. He's doing what he needs to do. He don't want his boss coming up to him every 5 minutes, breaking his concentration, saying, hey, make sure you do this now. Hey, make sure you do that. Oh, we're gonna do this later. It becomes nerve-wracking. It gets to a point where when an employee sees you coming, they just hate to see you coming. They hate to hear your voice. They hate to even deal with you. So, to all my managers out there, look at what you do and how you do it. If you are trying to take over everything that someone else is doing that you paying them to do, then try taking 2 steps back and saying, let me go a day without doing that, and focus on not doing that activity and see what happens. If that person flourishes, then you can step back 2 days, 3 days, because at the end of the day, when you go days, weeks, months without micromanaging people, you're gonna see that your morale is gonna go up, your retention level is gonna go up, because people won't quit. I work for companies where they have great retention, low pay, great retention. Why? Train the people to do the job, we let them do the job, and we walked away. We go in and verify without being evasive, meaning that we go, look, okay, you're supposed to be at this point in the process by now. Look, all right, we're at that point. We didn't feel like we had to put our hands on every step of the process while at the same time being hands off. Listen to that statement very well. You can't be hands on and have your finger on every part of the process and be hands-off. If you're going to be hands-on, you need to be completely hands-on, meaning that you have to be out there. You got to be going. You got to be doing. You got to be right there with your team. Granted, like I said, that's micromanaging 101. When you're right there on top of everything, trying to manage everything, you invalidate every manager that you've hired. Third, I've seen managers who or executives who work for companies and say, you know what, been here a year, 2 years, you guys ain't treating me right. You want to second guess everything I say. We got to have 15 conversations about the exact same stuff. You know what, I'm taking my skills somewhere else where it's appreciated. That happens all too often, mind you. And the reason that it happens is because some upper managers, some owners, some CEOs have the mindset that their way is the right way. That's what works. Well, here's what you have to understand about different companies. Back in the day, there was a company called AOL. AOL was basically the shiznit when it came down to the internet, or search browsers and stuff. Well, then I always say that it went from AOL to Yahoo to now Google. And why did that progression happen? It happened for one major reason. Google's managers hire people to do a job, not to manage the people. When you hire people to do a job, the innovation comes. And when you get the innovation coming in and out, you let the productivity go. You let the productivity flow. When you micromanage a group or a team, the productivity goes down. And it goes down for one major reason. Because the people feel as though no matter what they do, it's not going to be good enough, or you're going to come back and change it anyway. So why even come with these great ideas when at the end of the day it's not going to work? The adage, sometimes it's too little too late, is what comes to mind right now for me, because I've seen that some companies feel that they're better than other companies while they don't have anything to offer. They don't have anything to offer the customer. They don't have anything to offer the people. When you're in that situation, you have to take the advice of the people you hire and allow them to do what you pay them to do. The hardest thing you can do as a manager or a owner of a company is think you know it all. Because when you think you know it all, you're going to find that there are people who know more than you. I walked into facilities that I knew the process, but I didn't know the facility. Meaning that I had to go in and learn the facility. Because each facility has its own thing. It's just like every industry. I couldn't walk into a steel mill and get it running. I probably could if I sat around long enough and watched it. But am I going to be as proficient as a manager who's been there 20 years? No. And just because a person puts you in a job title does not make your knowledge level increase. It just means you got a better job than this guy on the line. I worked for a company. We had a guy that worked for us 25 years. The guy knew everything in the business. He knew the entire operation. He knew the numbers. He knew everything. But he wanted to continue to work as an hourly employee. And he made a statement to me that sits with me today. He said, I don't want to be a manager because you managers have to be bureaucrats. He said, I want to be able to come in, get the work done, and leave. And I said, well, what do you mean bureaucrats? He said, the CEO here, he's got his own mindset on how he wants things done. You're going to come with a lot of great ideas. He's going to take them and say, no, we're going to do it my way. He's not going to listen. He's going to turn around, and the things that he do listen to, it's going to be his idea. It's going to be his program. It's going to be his company. And you're going to get to a point where you feel as though you're underappreciated, that you've not been able to do what you set out to do. And looked at the guy kind of, at the time, I'm young manager, I always tell people, young Turk, ready to go in and take over the world. 6 months down the road, me and this same guy sat in the break room one day. I had my hand on my head, and he walked up to me and said, I told you. He said, I bet you the owner ain't listening to what you're saying. You're still doing the same old thing that we've been doing. Nothing's changed. Nothing's gotten better. nothing has improved. And I said, yeah. I said, yeah, nothing's improved. I said, we're still at the same boat. He said, and that's why I'll never be a manager. A couple years later, that CEO stepped out of his position, handed it over to another guy. Company flourished. Ideas were brought in. The thought process that I'm the CEO and I know everything, or I'm the boss and I know everything, went away. And the reason being, this CEO walked in and said, look, I ain't come from this industry. I've been working in manufacturing, but I don't know what the heck y'all do here. And you know what? I need to lean on all you guys to learn what we do here. He's like, all I know is where we need to take the numbers. And he started roundtable discussions with managers, supervisors, and hourly employees. And those roundtable discussions boosted productivity by 30-something% within the first year. And all they did was basically sit down and listen. Granted, you know, this guy wasn't the best, CEO, but he wasn't a micromanager. So to all you out there that's listening, if you're in a management role, supervisor, or team leader role, understand that micromanaging is not healthy as a day-to-day operation. Being in the know of every little thing that goes on, or anytime something's said, you have to have something to say to add to it. That devalues the people that you have working for you. And if you're an hourly employee, if you're a worker, and your boss is micromanage you, feel free to tell them they're micromanaging you. But at the same time, some bosses ain't gonna listen no way. So, I'll just leave it at that and say, everybody have a blessed day.